This sword takes hours to get, and it's not the only one. There are loads of insanely long grinds in Elden Ring. I'm talking things that can potentially take days to accomplish. That's why today we're uncovering the longest grinds in Elden Ring. From weapons with insanely low drop rates, to achievements no one sane would even think about trying to get. But before we get into grinds that can take days of your life away, let's start with a grind that might just be the most annoying. Can you imagine farming 30 whole minutes for this boring straight sword? Well, I have news for you. Because that's the exact amount of time it takes to farm this thing. This annoying farm starts at the Kaled Highway South, Grace, and you head southwest till you reach these coffins, and kill these rotting corpses. I'm sure you're surprised, because you've probably seen and killed a lot of these guys, but never seen this weapon. That's because the noble Slender sword has an insane 0.5% drop rate at 100 discovery. The only reason this farm doesn't take forever is because there's 6 of them you can farm here. If you're not including the one that turns into a giant troll on death, because he literally turns into a troll. Just leave that guy alone. But once you sit here and kill these guys for half an hour straight and get it, you have a decent sword to look forward to. And for my Dark Souls 3 enthusiasts, this is the closest you're getting to the beautiful Lothric Knight sword. I'm sure we've all missed that old reliable blade. This farm definitely isn't worth it. Speaking of things that just aren't worth the annoyance, have you ever heard of the monk sword? I bet you haven't. Because if you did, you would have to do the most annoying farming route in the world for 32 minutes straight. Remember how our last item took 30 minutes to farm at a 0.5% drop rate? Well, the monk sword is a whopping 4% drop chance, and still manages to be a longer farm than the noble Slender sword. The runback alone makes this one of the worst grinds in Elden Ring. Starting in the giant conquering hero's grave, you have to tread from room to room, and almost make it through the entire dungeon, just to get to this hallway that's spitting fire. And once you walk into it, you'll be ambushed by the black monk you need to farm. So you're dealing with both the fire and this monk all over you. For future runs, you can just turn the fire spitting off, but that still leaves all the enemies in the way along this path. One thing to note is that my 32-minute time figure is from an experienced Souls player who literally does this as his job, so this may take significantly longer for you. But if you struggled through what the wiki literally calls the rarest farm in the game, you have a pretty solid weapon. This thing has good scaling, and isn't really something to scoff at. I don't think I could say it's worth it, but it's definitely a solid weapon if you do get it. Alright, from here on out, we're gonna get absolutely absurd. All the items past this point will take hours of your life just to get one of. Our next grind is the long-tongued imp head. Let's just get this out of the way. We aren't even gonna ask if these grinds are worth it past this point. Nothing from here on out will be worth it. The imp head is the shortest farm going forward, and it's still a whole hour and 6 minutes just to have a freaky mask. For this one, you go to the underground roadside Grace. Take a left and go down the ladder. And once you get down, you'll see an imp you can go ahead and kill. But be careful, because as soon as you run for the first imp, another one will drop behind you. Kill that one too, and you've officially completed a round of the farm. Now do it 100 more times. And only then, you'll have a good chance of getting the mask. And 100 times is just the point where you will statistically probably get it. But you still have a 36.6% chance of not even getting it at your 100th kill. So in reality, an hour and 6 minutes is an optimistic estimate to how much time getting this helmet might take you. All that effort for it to only raise your dexterity by 2. That's the main thing it does for you. An hour of your life thrown away for 2 measly points of dexterity. The only positive to this is that the helmet has its tongue sticking out, and it looks kind of funny. You have to be absolutely insane to do this without a silver foul foot or any other buff. This is absolutely ridiculous, and the most tedious grind in all of Elden Ring. We have hundreds more hours of grinding ahead. Though if you take any of those challenges on, you're gonna need some entertainment to keep you sane, which is why you should subscribe to Through the Fog. We upload consistent, super high quality Soulsborne videos, and subscribing ensures you won't miss a single one. Like the video, and if you wish to show deeper support, you can drop a super thanks and get a shout out at the end of the video. Let's circle back to one of the most absolutely absurd farming routes in the entire game, because the Magma Blade takes a whopping 1 hour and 8 minutes at a 1% drop rate. Let's just get right to it. Once you're at the Egle Church, you can either take this goofy route and probably take a couple of years to get your hands on a singular Magma Blade, or you can activate this elevator and now you have a shortcut. But if I'm being fully transparent, shortcut is a strong word for this. because now you've added waiting and some boring ass elevator to every run in this already long farming route. Once you take that elevator, the most efficient path is to run right and kill the snake over there, and then run back over to the volcano manor to murder the one that's on the staircase. Since there's 2 snakes, you only have to do this 50 times. But the farm route is so absurdly long that it's longer than our last farm, which you literally had to do 100 times. And before you think of going elsewhere for your Magma Blade needs, these 2 snakes are the only 2 enemies in the entire game that drop the Magma Blade. So get on that elevator and start killing those snakes if you want this sword. I think Anonymous on the Elden Ring wiki said it best when he commented, "RuneScape ass drop rate." I mean, this item is so tedious to farm that players in the wiki have just given up. Everyone is saying to use cheat engine to get it, and apologizing to console players. I think it says something when a community is dedicated and resilient, as the Souls community throws their hands up and just gives up, because something is that hard. And of course, like clockwork, we have one guy saying the drop rate should be lower. The Souls community never fails to be the Souls community. To make it worse, this weapon apparently isn't amazing, unless you go get another one so you can dual wield. So if you're a strength and or a faith user, get back in that elevator. Your work isn't done, soldier. We'll see you in 2 hours and 16 minutes. If you go to the windmill village and ride uphill till you find this crowd and kill all of them, you have a 0.5% chance of getting the CBrant Rake. But this isn't like our other 0.5%, because from everywhere I look, it seems like there's only one enemy that drops this weapon in one run, unlike all our other 0.5% chances. So this is the first 0.5 that we actually have to grind 200 times over to get a decent chance at obtaining it. That means you're sitting down for a whole 2 hours and 23 minutes to get a single weapon. Yeah, this is absolutely obnoxious. An hour was crazy, but no one wants to sit down for over double that time just to get some random weapon. And digging more into it, it's really not even that good. It scales with dex and gives you 10 runes for every hit, but that's seriously the only real benefits. A weapon that literally takes over 2 hours to farm is mid at best. Remember the thing I said about how the last farm broke the community? Well, let me read an excerpt from the Ribcage wiki page. Day 4 of farming for the Rib Rake. I understand it now. This is a punishment exacted against mankind for our sins. For the original sin of life evolving into existence, all those eons ago. Nay, it goes even further back. We are punished for being something when the true state of the universe is nothingness. Somewhere deep within me, there is still a flicker of emotion. Rage? Disgust? I no longer have the capacity to comprehend it. I merely press the buttons on my controller and wait for everything to return to nothing. Getting this item is such an achievement that getting it in less than 20 minutes got this guy so happy that he needed to buy a lottery ticket. Let me remind you, 20 minutes would be a long farm for any other weapon, but for this one, it's a blessing. People are changing their entire character builds just to have a higher chance of getting this. There's absolutely no reason you would put yourself through this if you aren't a collector or a completionist. And if you're either of those, it's time to give up, because that was the very last grind in this video that takes less than 24 hours. Be prepared to try and hold on to your sanity, and hold any emotional support object you have close, because these grinds are not for the faint of heart. The second longest grind in Elden Ring is upgrading every single weapon in the game. This means collecting enough smithing shards to upgrade all 309 weapons. You would have to collect every single weapon too, but let's just pretend you already have all the weapons. Because if we factored in weapon collecting, this would get insane. So you have all your weapons, but you need 2,628 smithing stones, 90 somber smithing stones, 219 ancient dragon smithing stones, and 90 somber ancient dragon smithing stones. If you think we're dealing with big numbers right now, wait till you see the amount of time it all takes. But luckily I have good news when it comes to the thousands of smithing stones, because in the end game you can just buy all of them. But then we have another issue. How do we get all these runes? Because we don't just need enough runes to buy thousands of smithing stones. We also have to get enough runes to actually smith all our weapons, since there's a small fee whenever you upgrade a weapon. So it's time to go to good old Reliable in Mohg's Palace and hit the classic rune farm. From here on out, I'm gonna assume the player's in New Game +7, because I doubt there's many if any people, who would take on this ridiculous goal before reaching max new game. So you farm up there and head back to buy all your stones. Then you go to upgrade them. But we have a problem. The max level stones aren't purchasable, so you have to play through the game a few more times to collect them. We need 219 ancient dragon stones and 90 sombers. There's 13 ancient dragon stones in every playthrough and 8 sombers. This means we've already beat the game once, and any new game plus is faster than the base game. So the fact that we're exclusively grinding new game plus cuts down our time a lot. But I needed to figure out how long an average new game plus would take. So I went on Reddit, and they said it takes 2 to 3 hours if you're rushing. So I added an hour onto that for all the extra time you go out of your way grabbing the stones, and all the new game pluses, to see how long our second longest grind in Elden Ring is. And after all that, I found that if you buy every single smithing stone, get all the runes for smithing, and play through the game 17 times, it takes a whopping 89 hours. The grinding takes 4 hours, and as you can imagine, beating the game 17 times takes up the majority, and the other 85 hours of this grind. That's 3 days and 13 hours, all to see big numbers next to your weapons. The craziest thing is I use the most optimized times for all these things. It would probably take the average Souls player way longer to farm the runes, and it would definitely take them longer than 4 hours per playthrough. But not even that is the longest grind in Elden Ring. The actual longest is getting to max level. Getting to the golden number 713 requires a shocking 1,692,566,842 runes. For context, the rune grind for maxing out every weapon was just 42,261,150. It actually doesn't even get close to the impossible feat that getting to max level requires of us. So how many times are we gonna have to farm the rune spot? Well, the rune farm drops 65,000 runes per run, so we need to do the farm 26,039 times. This is getting so absurd I don't even know what commentary to put here. If you add up all the time it would take to farm the appropriate amount of runes, we would be farming for 173 hours, or 7 days and 5 hours. I have no words. There's an objective in Elden Ring that would take over 2 weeks if you spend every waking moment constantly grinding, because you've got to sleep and eat, so that pretty much doubles the length of time. Half a month dedicated just to getting to max level in Elden Ring. And the craziest part is that people have actually done this. They may have had some buffs and higher discovery, but this is still an insane achievement. If you got a job that pays federal minimum wage and put in the same time, you would make $1,254. You could buy Elden Ring 20 times with that money. That's half the money you need to buy a terrible car that's seconds from breaking down on OfferUp. If you wanted to drive around the entire perimeter of the United States, you would be able to loop the entire thing and get a quarter way through another run with 173 hours. It takes such an unbelievably ridiculous amount of time to get to max level that I think I can say without a shadow of a doubt that it's the longest grind in Elden Ring. And that was all the longest grinds. Did we miss any? If we did, drop them in the comments. Consider leaving a like and subscribing for more great content like this. And if you like this video, I know you'll love our hidden items video. So go ahead and click that link on screen. And until next time, I'll see you through the fog.